Do you ever get tired of chasing down the dream, striving for perfection in an imperfect world? Does it sometimes leave you with nothing but a lingering sense of dissatisfaction? Today on the Neogenian Whisper, we expose a fallacy that hinders your progress and wrecks your mood, robbing you of joy, all while hiding out behind idealism. Let's deconstruct this logically skewed approach to living by high standards. In minutes, you'll discover a mindset shift to reduce stress and increase fulfillment. We'll unravel the Nirvana Fallacy, understand its impact on decision-making, and explore how embracing imperfections can empower you to make better choices. We'll also cover strategies to create a balance between striving for success and savoring the moment. Finally, you'll discover the secret to living with joy and purpose. Before I tell you exactly what the Nirvana Fallacy is and how you might be suffering from it without even knowing it, I first need to tell you a brief and relevant story from when I was a frustrated but gifted 6-year-old. In my first grade class, we were once given a fill-in-the-blank exercise to write the first letter of each word that we could match to an illustration. My teacher, Mrs. Allen, noticed that I left one blank that should have been easy for me. She had a strong estimation of my general intelligence and was puzzled to see my performance lagging on something small. The picture was of a pie, and she coached me to sound it out, adding, "I know you know what the first letter of pie is." Remember Hooked on Phonics? It worked for me. P, right? I told her I couldn't figure it out because I didn't know what kind of pie it was. A blueberry pie would start with a B, but a strawberry pie would start with an S. I was not being facetious. I was overthinking the problem by half a mile. I had difficulty managing expectations, my own and others, and I would become enormously frustrated over small things, like finding the right page in a textbook as fast as we were asked to turn there. But I had an empathetic teacher, Mrs. Allen, who took the time to understand the reasoning behind my reactions. Reflect on a time when perfectionism or unrealistic expectations held you back. Who were your patient mentors and teachers that guided you through it? I hope you had some. Send love back to your frustrated child self. You were much more gifted than you realized when holding yourself to an impossible standard. The Nirvana Fallacy is comparing realistic options with unrealistic idealized alternatives. The fallacy assumes a perfect solution exists, rejecting pragmatic solutions as flawed for being anything less than ideal. The term Nirvana Fallacy was coined in 1969 by economist Harold Dimsetz, but the seed of it is found in a bit of rational philosophy at least as old as the Enlightenment, at least as far back as Voltaire, who famously recorded in his philosophical dictionary that the perfect is the enemy of the good. This fallacy leans on wishful thinking and black and white absolutism. To illustrate the Nirvana Fallacy, let's look at 2 examples. Michelle dreamed of becoming a clinical psychologist, but she dropped out of college. She could still get her degree and have a fulfilling career, but She feels she missed her calling by not graduating from an Ivy League school at a traditional age. She's worked mostly lower wage service industry and retail jobs, and at the age of 27 she could actually go back to school, get a counseling psychology degree, and by the age of 31 or 32 have her fulfilling career. But she compares herself unfavorably to an older sibling, and a secondary path to a counseling career seems like not good enough. She undervalues her seasoning in life and what that would bring to the table. And she sees less than the idealized vision of her first trek down that path as something of a disappointment, so she's not ready to try. Bob is a burnt-out psychologist who longs for early retirement. At 47, he feels trapped by his credentials and student loans he's still 3 years short of paying off. He would love to take an early retirement at least by 50, maybe have a second career as a bartender or a fishing guide, maybe leave Baltimore for Florida. But Bob feels trapped by his credentials and his student loans, suffering from something more like sunk cost fallacy. Michelle, by comparing her live options to her previously unrealized ideal, is suffering from the Nirvana Fallacy. The world would be a better place if Bob retired early and Michelle stepped into his place. But flawed thinking holds them back. In the Neogenian view, perfection is where we come from, and the place to which we finally return. Our ultimate nature is unified and complete, but life in the meantime can be tough. In this shadow realm with all of its contingencies, we are challenged to see perfection and imperfection existing on a spectrum. We need to remember that better is actually better, even when it falls short of perfect. Perfection is desirable, but perfectionism is a curse. Wisdom accepts gradations and incremental progress. It surveys the space in between the extremes. We can strive to be better without obsession, and we can be happy with who we are along the way. So the challenge from this lecture is to elevate your options reasonably and based upon your true calling, but not by comparison with unattainable ideals. Release infatuation with perfection, but without losing hope, because your most realized self exists beyond the narrow limits of what you once believed self-actualization would look like. If you ever need to make a midlife career change, or take an early retirement, followed by a life of greater leisure or less status consciousness, as the case may be, both you and the world at large will likely be better off if you can do so. Always remember that a solution doesn't have to be perfect for you, and that a solution doesn't have to be perfect in order to be good. Do not allow the perfect to become the enemy of the good. The Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi accepts imperfection as serenely beautiful. Kintsugi is an art form embracing this philosophy. In kintsugi, broken pottery gets repaired with gold and silver, enhancing the imperfections, showing off the cracks. This symbolizes the beauty of imperfection and the acceptance of change. It also creates something more beautiful than the original object, depending on your point of view. and it's seen as a celebration of the object's spirit and history. This highlights the importance of embracing life's imperfections and recognizing that broken things can be repaired and transformed into something even more beautiful. It is a powerful reminder that beauty can be found in the most unlikely places. Likewise, our flaws add depth. We should embrace our flaws, as they are a source of strength and resilience. We should strive to be the best versions of ourselves, not perfect versions. We should use our flaws as a catalyst for growth. What if you embraced imperfections, found beauty in a broken leaf, preferred it to the others? This perspective shift could bring self-compassion, appreciation of the natural world, and a form of mindful living. The Nirvana Fallacy blinds us to the value of real but imperfect solutions. When we are involved in real-world problem solving, we must compare live options with other live options, even though available live options are almost always imperfect. The fallacy that we've just explored causes idealists, in the lesser sense of that word, to compare live and available options that are flawed with an idealized perfect solution that does not exist. Therefore, the next move for them is to apply rejectionism to anything that falls short of some incredibly vaulted ideal. That isn't the kind of idealist you want to be. It's a sort of absolutism that is always a decision-making trap. The idea that no solution at all is preferable to something that only solves a real-life problem by 85%, leaving 15% hanging around for another solution is perfectly insane, and it's not even the fun kind of insane. So let's all get just a little bit zen or wabi-sabi, and find the beauty in the brokenness of things, as well as embracing the healthy sort of pragmatism in our daily problem-solving skills. Until next time, this is Mark Vanderpool for the Neogenian Whisper. Ad Astra, my friends, and Hail New Terra.